Palantir are currently up nearly 9% on the last week's chart. So why is this? What is happening? Where is this stock going to head? Let's find out in this video. I've done videos on Palantir before and it is a brilliant stock to be holding. So let's see if this still stands now. Before we get into this video, I would like to just say I'm currently very ill. I'm making this video for you guys, so please do like and subscribe. It would be greatly appreciated. I'm not a financial advisor. None of this is financial advice. You should always do your own research before buying into a stock. With that being said, let's get into this video. So Palantir does hold the largest position within my portfolio at the moment, so I would like to just quickly put that out there. However, with that being said, I am not biased towards any stock at all. I'm not one of them sort of guys that will just jump on a hype train of a stock and try and pump it up. I really don't believe that is an ethical way to make videos at all, and I really dislike the people that make them videos. I'm not going to go, oh my god, buy Palantir right now, guys. I will tell you if I don't think it is a wise decision to. So with that being said, let's look at the finances. So on the year-to-date chart, we're up 313.28%. which is incredible. I personally got in around, where's the highlighter? If you can see that, I personally got in around there. I got in pretty late, but it is what it is. I say late, I've still made great returns off of it. So let's look at the daily chart, not daily chart, 5-day chart, because it shows the actual increase. So yesterday, as market opened, Palantir had a huge, I think it was around 10% increase, with a bit of a bearish section just after the original spike, and it has continued to overnight have a big pump. So what was the reason for this? So Palantir gains higher government secure cloud rating, lifting shares. The federal government on Tuesday gave Palantir Technologies a higher rating for secure cloud computing services. The higher authorization builds on Palantir's previous rating that enables the US government to process most sensitive unclassified workloads in Palantir's cloud offering. It says here, we are proud to have achieved the FedRAMP high milestone for our full-time product suite, including our award-winning AI platform, said the president of the US government business for Palantir. So as we know, a few weeks back, maybe even a month ago now, Palantir secured a massive deal with the US government to work on their classified network as their classified AI. And I believe that this has now been extended into a wider audience within the US government, such as defense companies such as L3Harris, and potentially even the likes of companies such as Lockheed Martin, with Palantir getting around 60% of its revenue from government agencies, mostly within the US. Also on the 7th of November, Palantir and the startup Anthropic, which is a partnership with Amazon, announced a partnership with Amazon Web, which I've just mentioned, I've just said that twice, services to provide US intelligence and defense agencies access to its Claude 3 AI models. Furthermore, on here it says Palantir's stock rating is 99. It's a perfect 99 out of a possible 99, so brilliant. I would just like to add my own quick opinion in here. As we know that Palantir has made agreements with the US government on their classified networks, I do think it is very likely that Palantir will also get access to the American allies, such as the United Kingdom where I live, and France, Germany, to work on their sort of versions of the American classified networks. As they will all, of course, be looking to make a jump into AI soon, it would make sense for them to follow in the United States footsteps and choose Palantir, so that could also hike the stock up. However, I also don't have a clue, it's kind of speculation, but it just makes so much sense. So Trump trade sparks Palantir rally. Is Palantir stock a buy or sell heading into 25? Is there any point in reading this article? It's obviously going to say a buy. So there is plenty of bulls and bears to hash out over Palantir Technologies. Bulls to point out improved profitability for the company, and bears focus on revenue growth for Palantir stock. Then there's the buzz over artificial intelligence stocks to consider as well. Like I said, I don't want to just say, oh my god, buy Palantir. I want to show you the pros and cons. So let's see what the bears have got to say. So on the bearish side, they say that analysts maintain underperforming ratings, and they are talking about insider sellings, in which we did see the CEO Alex Karp sell off a large portion of his shares about 2 weeks ago. So that is definitely something that is happening, which it does actually say down here. It says CEO Alex Karp has sold nearly 40 million shares of Palantir for an aggregate of over $1.9 billion US. This is happening over the last 3 months, and 18 million shares for an aggregate of $1 billion in November. While he has already sold 20% of all of his shares within Palantir, The trading plan allows for another 9 million shares to be sold through to May 2025. This could create further overhang for the shares. So let me give my personal opinion on this. Of course, this is not ideal for the stock, but I think with the amount of volume that's being pumped into the stock at the moment, I don't think it's bad at all. In fact, it could almost be seen as a positive thing, as prices can drop for other people to buy in. And Alex Karp has been wanting to sell these shares for quite some time apparently, so why not sell them now? We'll see it's at an all-time high. So it is definitely a bearish thing. However, I don't think it warrants enough speculation to say the whole stock is bearish, get out. In fact, I don't think it really matters at all. Within the Q3 statement, Alex Karp literally came out and said how shocked he was at the results of their profitability. So it does show that he is not concerned about the company's finances in the slightest. But with that being said, let's look into the company's finances to see where exactly my system is predicting this to head. So let's start off by looking at a liquidity ratio. Before I do, I'd just like to remind you, if you could please like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated. So here we can see total cash to total debt on a ratio. Ideally you want to see this above 1, and for Palantir we are currently in the 20s, which is outstanding. That means for every $1 of debt in which they owe, they have $1 of liquid cash to pay it back. As in the world of business, cash is quite literally king. You don't want to be selling your assets in order to pay out your debt. So for Palantir, this is absolutely brilliant, and if anything, the trend lines are predicting this to just increase over the next few quarters, so amazing. Now moving on to a retention rate. This shows how much money is retained within the company on a percentage basis. So looking at the retention rate, we are actually near 20% at the moment. That is also just crazy. It is typical to see an AI company do this well, as they don't actually sell any physical products. It is all just data analysts and AI jargon. So there isn't, it's like why Warren Buffett says he invests in video game companies, because once the product is out there, it's out. But it's slightly different with AI, as it is always being developed. But we are seeing a 20% retention rate. Ideally you want to see this around 10%. So for a company as small cap as Palantir is, this is just outstanding. Again, I don't want to sound like I'm just trying to push Palantir down your throat and say buy. I do want to keep this fair, but it's hard to really have a counter argument when the figures are this good. And of course the trend lines are also predicting this to just increase, so no issues at all looking forward. Furthermore, looking at the free cash flow, this is also outstanding, with it increasing quarter on quarter. We are currently at 415,000 times 1,000, so 4 million, I think. I don't know, I'm an engineer, I do maths, but I can't do mental maths very well. But again, it's just predicting this to increase like quite drastically over the next couple of quarters, so just nothing to worry about in their finances in the slightest. So now let's move on to a volume to price ratio. So on a 365 chart, we can see the trend line is well below the actual price, which you would typically see as a bad thing. However, you'll see why it's not in a minute. The volume is actually really steady, which is quite nice. That's exactly what you want to see within a stock, and this is why the trend line was not an issue. Is when you look on a smaller chart, such as a 91-day exponential chart, you can see that the trend line is actually bang on where it should be, because these trend lines won't take into account things such as news, such as what we had recently with the US government fast-tracking Palantir. That won't be accounted for within the trend line on a larger scale, but when you put it into a smaller scale, you can actually see just how different it is. And I put this illustration together just to prove the point, but this is why that is important. If you have a trend line which doesn't quite meet up, you are expected to see a huge sell-off. However, if your trend line does match the price quite well, then it shows that there's reason for it. It's not just being pumped artificially. Of course, it doesn't take into account the news, but in this case, we can see that it is very strong and it is very bullish. So now let's take a look at some of the figures for Palantir. So on a PE ratio, we can see an outrageous 359. That is price to earnings. It can be seen as what potential they have in room to growth within the stock price. We have a 52-week high of 71, and we are currently at 70 and a low of 15, which is very low, and that's a difference of $55. We have a market cap of 161 billion US dollars and a high beta of 2.87. That is the volume on a ratio compared to the ETF in which it's in. In this case, we're looking at the Nasdaq, so that means that volatility is 2.87 times more volatile, which could be seen as a positive or negative thing. However, in the case of Palantir, I do think it's definitely positive, being the price is definitely going up. If you would see the price going down and the beta to be quite high, that would be not ideal in the slightest. But that just shows the volume of shares being traded compared to the Nasdaq. Looking at the actual volume to the average volume, we can see that we are currently very low. I think that's just because most of the people that have sold or were going to buy have done so in the last 24 hours due to the big increase. And we are well below the average, which is a very big number. So that's enough about what I think. I'm starting to lose my voice now, as I did say I was ill. But let's see what the analysts think, as I'm not an analyst, I'm just an idiot. So basically, the analysts are projecting a 30-day peak of around $90 and a 90-day low of about 30 odd. But overall, they are projecting a large increase. Personally, I see it going a bit like that. I do think it will start to take a decline at some point, but I'm not sure it'll be within the next 90 days. And when I say decline, I don't think it'll be a decline. It will just be a bit of a plateauing effect. But this stock is, in my opinion, still very undervalued, so I just don't see it slowing down within the next 90 days. Furthermore, I'm actually properly losing my voice now. On a buy, sell, hold scale, they are recommending a hold, they're not saying buy, and within 2025, they're projecting a huge decline within price. Again, I hugely disagree with that, but that's just my personal opinion. So now looking at short term for Palantir, we can see the Omega and Sharp and Sortino ratios for this stock. This is very short term. This is if you were to trade this within a day or even a week at the latest. So the Omega ratio is 5.26, which is really, really bullish. And the Sharp and Sortino is 61.41%, which is also incredibly bullish. I don't think I've personally ever seen this so high. That is basically saying if you were to get in now, the risk to reward is in the favor of the reward. So if you were to trade this today, you would do pretty well out of it. However, I'm not a short-term trader. I will be looking to get into that soon, but for now, as I'm still a broke student, I don't have money to just risk like that. So and I don't really know what I'm talking about within short-term finance. So now, before I properly lose my voice, let's get onto the Google Trends to see how they perform in a search term. They're currently a bit of a low at the moment after such a high around November, but that was around the Q3 report, I believe, so it's to be a bit expected. Normally this would be quite an important metric to look at with companies that sell a lot online. It's not massively important with companies such as Palantir. It just shows the interest within the company, with the largest interest regions being Singapore, Switzerland, Germany, Austria and Denmark. So that concludes my analysis on Palantir. What is my final thoughts? I think Palantir is a brilliant stock and it has definitely done me well. Is it a bit late to get in? I still wouldn't think so at all. I do see this having a lot more potential, but before you do click buy, I'm not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. You should always do your own research and consult an actual financial advisor before you do anything. So long term, I give Palantir a strong rating of a B+. I'd be tempted to even put it into an A, but because of what the analysts think, I think I have to be a bit hesitant to put it up to an A. In my mind, I would put it up to an A, especially with Trump coming in, as he will help small cap stocks massively. Short term, I would also give it a B. Just a B. I was going to say B+, but just a B because it is very volatile. As of the news yesterday, I do think it will go up, don't get me wrong, within the short term, but personally short term just isn't for me. But if you want to do it short term, I don't see an issue with it. So that concludes the video. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor. I'm starting to really lose my voice now, so that will be it for this. If you could leave a like and subscribe, it would be greatly appreciated, and I will see you for the next video.